So, the beginning of the process of breaking free and stepping into this place I'm calling alignment, this state of being that I'm calling alignment, is to, once you've found a resource, once you've found a program, once you've found a professional or someone you can confide in, the first step then is to unpack the past. Now, the interesting part about this is you're going to want to be speaking with someone that, again, has done this work themselves and therefore has something in the way of healing and transformation to offer you. Okay? If you speak with someone who has not done the work and you open up to them, you may end up feeling more hopeless than you did when you began. So let's be clear about that. That's a caveat that you're going to want to pay attention to. So once we've found a trusted servant, if you will, someone we can confide in, that we know has something that we can expand on, then the first area of the work is to unpack the past. Understand what's happened. Understand why it is that you've lived out this story, this limited story. And again, we're not unpacking the past to stay there. We're simply unpacking the past to give you a quick answer. Often we unpack the past so that you understand that it wasn't your fault. Very simply, right? So that we can then forgive ourselves for living out someone else's pain and story and not designing our own. So I would say that's probably one of the first and most significant elements of that first step as it concerns working through the past. In doing the work and understanding our past and working through it, one of the consistent themes that arises with working with others is we often have to grieve a chapter of our life, a version of ourselves. I would say that that's one of the most inevitable, necessary processes, is to go through the grief process, to understand that chapter can now be over if we want it to be. When we're going through the grief process, I think it's one of the places where we often encounter that inherent latching on to a story. There's some sort of mechanism, right? This survival mechanism, right? We're familiar with that version of the story. So even if you're telling me that the grass is greener on the other side, I have this part of my human makeup, my human design, that I have not yet transcended, as we like to say, that keeps me wanting to latch on to the familiar as a need from a place of survival, because part of my psyche thinks that letting go, surrendering that chapter, will mean that I'm going to die. And what's more is that on some level, that's actually what's going to happen. When I've worked with people on suicide and I've spoken to the theme of suicide, I often say that it isn't that the person necessarily wants to end their life, in my professional opinion. It's that they simply can't see a way out. They have no expanders. They have no mirrors. They had no mirrors. There's no one around them to show them that true transformation does in fact exist. It is in fact a thing. So when I see no way out and I want this part of my life, this version of my life, this version of me, this chapter on my journey to be over, and I have no insight, I've never done it before, I don't know what transformation is, the seemingly logical thing is to end my life. And the good news is that today, because of what we know about neuroplasticity, because what we've always known, it seems, in the context of spirituality, mysticism, psychological techniques and practices, the transformational ones, we now know that when we go through the grief process effectively, we can wrap up that chapter, put it behind us, and it won't dictate, it will not control our future, because we will have gone through the necessary ups and downs of the grief process and come out on the other end healthier, happier, wiser, and more trusting because of it. And then move into the next chapter of our lives, the next chapter we want to co-create in ways we never thought possible. Free in many ways of wiring that we never thought we'd be able to get rid of, that we thought was always going to control our lives.